Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. This is episode number 5 in my top 100 trance tracks of all time. In this video, I'll be counting down from number 60 down to number 51 as we get ever closer to revealing my top 10 and my favorite trance track of all time. Please don't forget to check my honorable mention videos. I did 3 honorable mention episodes where I talked about tracks that just missed this top 100 trance tracks list, which was very tough to rank and rate and to leave out tracks. But there's a lot of great tracks on here, but don't forget to check out those. It's really important, I feel like, to get a breadth of all the tracks that are on this list in its entirety, because I think there's a lot of great tracks that could be intermixed and you know, debated and gone either way on where I rate them and where they go in this list. And I don't necessarily want to make it about which track is better, but just the entirety of these lists, all 159 tracks on here that made this list, is what's important to me. And hopefully we celebrate that and enjoy a lot of this great music and not talk so much about which track is better than the other track and why. But I don't mind debating on which tracks didn't make the list if you have some ones that I didn't make the list. I'm definitely making an addendum as I go through this list. There's some tracks that I've kind of forgotten, which was inevitable, as I go. And there's some ones where I'd like to probably add to this list, and then on a side note, making in a video, do those 40 tracks or so, and then eventually I'll make a top 200 trance tracks, and maybe that will be the end all be all of my trance, my history with the genre, and kind of tying a bow on it, and that'll be the top 200 trance tracks of all time. And I'll leave it at that, and we'll go on to some other genres on my channel and celebrate some other lists. I'm excited to do some other lists for you. I've really enjoyed doing this list in particular. A lot of great music on here and a lot of great memories with these tracks, and it's kind of fun going back and replaying these. Some of these I haven't played for a while. Some of these I played last week. A lot of great songs on here that I've enjoyed over the last 35 years or so. But yeah, let's go on to track number 60 on this list. Definitely a classic from Heidi of Switzerland, if you know the label, which was an underground UK label in the early 90s. It didn't get a lot of attention, but had some really good, wouldn't say psytrance, kind of more on the hardcore and maybe Belgium and German influenced trance styles, but a lot of great music on the label, and this is my favorite of the label. And it comes in at number 60.
We got a warrant for your arrest. We got a warrant for your arrest.
All right, coming in at number 60, that was Terminator Benelux with the track called The Warrant, which came out on Heidi of Switzerland in 1993. It was always great, a lot of those Heidi of Switzerland record covers, you could always tell with the bright orange covers. I always could tell those quickly in the bins. Uh, this is a great classic track for me personally. It's one of those dangerous warehouse rave songs. Fast, fantastic vocal sample. I love the "We Got a Warrant for Your Arrest." Such an underground sound with the rave siren. The percussion's really great too, with the hi hat running and just a intricate rhythm, and it's kind of psychedelic. It's kind of early psy. Definitely kind of in that the way the psy kind of acid line goes, and the melody is kind of in that kind of psy sound. But just it's a wicked groove, and it's psy done right. It's actually kind of dark and mysterious as well, and just it just has kind of the signature kind of sound that I look for, and a lot of that early kind of trance style where it was a little bit more aggressive, not necessarily melodic or beautiful or even tied to the ambient, but of the harder stuff, this was right up my alley. And I love the kind of deeper groove in here. It's such a intricate, and it's very analog sounding too. Just a really strong track. Comes in at number 60 with the overall score of 80 out of 100. Let's go on to track number 59. Alright, so that was number 59, called Luck Spray by Red Eye. This came out on 6 a.m. Records in 1993. This is the highest rated Red Eye and highest rated 6 a.m. Records on my list, aka Delirium Records. I had Guinea Pigs by Red Eye at number 93. I had A Source also by Red Eye at number 73. I think there was another one or two other 6 a.m. records in my honorable mention as well. But this is the highest 6 a.m. Records track for me. This is kind of quintessential Frankfurt trance sound. Here's a copy over here. I originally first heard it on this amazing CD compilation right here. Um, Such a Frankfurt sounding trance track. It's fast, but it still has a groove on this one. It's still spacey, has a great melody. It's layered with big sound. Just a straightforward, great trance track that has a lot of layering and a lot of obviously big sound, but it is that kind of quintessential Frankfurt trance sound to me. Just big sounding and just dominating you with that melody and that just persistent beat, but it still has a little bit of a groove in there, and such an iconic track and really kind of underrated. That's still kind of being discovered by a lot of people that don't necessarily know 6 a.m. Records, but it's such a fantastic label. Yeah, it comes in at number 59 with a score out of 80 out of 100. That was track number 58, and the track was called Atlantic Ocean by Brain Unlimited. I first heard this track on this compilation back in like 1994, I think it was, which is a really good compilation, by the way. Also features Horizon 22 on here and Field Non-Place Urban Field. If you know those two artists, they're also on here. But this was an underground kind of a CD that featured this track, and then later on in the 90s, I got a copy of this on a promo, which is only it was only released as pretty much a white label, and not very kind of rare record for the most part. Love the ambient intro. A bit more dramatic on here. I originally, just a couple years ago, I got a chance to track down the artist who did this track, and unfortunately, they don't have the original DAT tapes or the original masters, and so I was inquiring to see if I could do a reissue of this on my label. I think this is a very great track that needs um, more availability and push it to a new generation. I think they would love this track. It's a really hard track to find, and I think it's a great example of early German trance music. And unfortunately, he doesn't have the master, so he can't do a copy. So if anybody does a copy, I guess they'll have to do it from the original vinyl, which is probably the worst thing you could do. So hopefully, I don't know, maybe you'll find him someday, and there'll be some copies available someday. But if not, this is kind of a rare record. It's not necessarily too expensive, but it is kind of rare to get a good copy of it. Um, I love the vocals on this track specifically. That's what is really important on this track. And the strings and the way the track builds, and it has a really good bass line as well. Stays in the sweet spot. Such a great example of German trance music. And I always find it really almost romantic to hear a track like this and know a track like this that was only ever, I think this is like the only EP the artist ever put out. So I just kind of find that kind of romantic in a way where, somebody just kind of came in and made a track and was inspired, and it didn't really take off, really maybe didn't do too much, didn't get the recognition, it disappeared, or maybe they stopped doing dance music and stopped producing, and that's the only record they ever put out. I just kind of find that like very romantic in a way, because that's the only thing they ever put out. I just find that really cool, and it's one of those puzzle pieces that you find that you really like, that sort of you put into your bigger piece of the puzzle, and that becomes an important link in the music that you find, and it makes you feel really special when you find a underground track like this, and kind of it becomes a favorite, and it all stems from taking chances on compilations like this back in the day. But yeah, it's such a cool track with a rating of excuse me, a rating of 80 out of 100. That was Brain Unlimited by Atlantic Ocean. Let's go on to track number 57. so that was track number 57 with a score of 80 out of 100. That was the track called New Millennium, the Transatlantic remix by Paul Mix. This came out on Experimental Records in 1993. Gotta love the deep acid sound on here. It almost has some house elements in here. It almost is kind of surprising that at first you don't think it's really a trance track, and it kind of comes out of nowhere. But you gotta love the way the track is kind of traditionally kind of building and flowing. It's just quintessential trance track for 1993. Great underground track too, but just such a great melody on it and great analog feel on it. Such a cool track. Um, One of my favorites on Experimental Records for sure, and it comes in at number 57. All right, let's check out number 56. That was number 56, a track called Brain Ticket by the artist named Ramen. Unfortunately, we lost Ramen a couple years ago. He passed away, but just a fantastic producer and definitely widely known for this particular track and a guaranteed trance classic for sure. I gave it a score of 80 out of 100. I love the eeriness of this one. Great program track, great flow. Love the sci-fi melody. This one's definitely verging on the harder trance sound. It's fast, but you gotta love the bells. And one thing that ties it, I feel, and keeps it in the more techno and also ravey sound is the percussion. like the hi-hats and the rhythm and the percussion in there, just all kind of ties more to the early techno sound and more ravey sound of techno. And the beat almost has like a skipping sound to it. It's definitely a little bit psychedelic in there, or not a little bit. It's definitely kind of has a psychedelic sound in there, and sort of tied to maybe psytrance, but early psytrance record perhaps 1992. Great classic track called Brain Ticket by Ramen. Came out, um, yeah, 1992. Wow. And give it a score of 80 out of 100. So let's go on to number 55. Another classic. right, so that was track number 55 with a score of 81 out of 100. That was Virtual Symmetries, 1993 track called See You. Wow, we're getting into some really heavy hitters here. These are some classic tracks for me for sure. Seems like every one I get to, and then I go to the next one, I go, this track is great. Why is it way down at 55? And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, 54 is really good too. Oh, 53 is really good. Just a lot of great songs on here. This is one of the best trance melodies of all time, in my opinion. It's just instantly recognizable as soon as it comes in. Right at the beginning, I just love that melody. It's such a good trip along. It's pretty much stays in the sweet spot for the whole time. It doesn't really kind of maybe what draws it back a little bit, like comparing it to other tracks, is it doesn't really evolve too much. I mean, it flows well. It adds some things here and there, and it's pretty straightforward. But it doesn't. I don't think it really has the maybe the balance of a darker sound and the beautiful sound that this one has. Maybe it's missing a little bit of that, but it's just a classic song. It's just I love the unique beat and the kind of like the pulsating kind of rhythmic beat, kind of almost bouncing instead of just being 4/4. Even though it starts out 4/4, then it starts bouncing and sort of uh, just becoming a little bit more different and just evolve and becoming a little bit quicker and just almost continuously just bouncing. I love the layers of the two main melodies, and then the third melody comes over the top and just kind of just twinkles over top and makes it so great. It's just a amazing song. Um, just a classic, just a classic. I mean, 81 out of 100 score. See You by Virtual Symmetry, just an all-time classic for sure. One that has a lot of memories for me. Gotta love old IQ records. All right, let's go on to number 54. number 54. That was Sun Shower by Cologne Summer with a rating of 81 out of 100. Another big melody right away. Big acid line, piano, ravey, love the vocal. Just love the deepness on the acid line specifically. Just that's one of my favorite acid lines, that kind of deeper, kind of very echo, or very kind of delay on the acid, where it almost sounds like it's very deeper in the mix and not so out front. Such a great track, and it's very 1993 in a lot of ways because of that type of vocal, which is kind of fairly wouldn't say super unusual, because it sounds like it totally works, and it sounds like that style of trance music. But when you think about it, like, that kind of melody is very unique nowadays, or just in general, the last maybe 30 years, and just using that type of melody in a song like this. I just love this track, and it's such a classic, and a lot of people don't know about it outside of maybe Germany, or maybe a lot of people don't know it in America, but I've always loved this track, and such a great melody. Love the build as well. With a score of 81 out of 100, that was Sun Shower by Cologne Summer. All right, let's go on to number 53.
Subconscious
Alright, so that was number 53 by Cyberdelics, called Adventures of Dama. Came out on Hard House Record in 1993. First heard it on this compilation, which I've shown a couple times, which has a lot of classics on here. I think there's like 6 or 7 IQ songs just from this compilation on my total list in general. But later on in the 90s, got a copy on vinyl. One of the fastest tracks that I probably have on the list, 154 BPMs. Love the multiple melodies. There's some intricate sounds in there as well that are kind of unique. Love the stomping beat, and just a classic hard house track and classic trance track for sure. Coming in a score of 81 out of 100. Let's go on to number 52. So that was track number 52. Kimball and Deckard's Star Life. The Fade Mix, which came out on X Multiply in 1995. I first heard Kyoki mix this in his Transatlantic Move mix CD from 1995. I just think this track is so epic. And I have to be honest, there's some parts of the song where, it's okay. But that melody in the beginning and then the 3 minutes or so break in the melody with the little break beat and the stomping beat and the breaks, just that melody is just epic. It's amazing melody. I've always loved this track, and 30 years old this year. Makes me feel old, but um, probably the only track on this list that there's some parts on it which I'm kind of indifferent of it. I mean, it's part of the track, so it's not bad, but that melody just kills it for me. Chris Fortier mixed this. If you know Chris Fortier, I guess he used to make stuff under Fade, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but just an awesome track. I think it's very underrated. And when you see ratings like this on Discogs and I've never really heard anybody mention this track for the most part, but I think it's a great melody and for those 3 or 4 minutes, it's just fantastic. I love it. Let's go on to the last track in the video, number 51. last track on this video, number 51, by Friends, Lovers, and Family. The track's called Diamond Lils, came out in 1993 on Rising High Records. I first heard it on these two compilations back in the day. Gotta love the big piano break on here. Really kind of dramatic track. Good blend of ambient and techno. There's some good rhythmic parts in here. It's a very, very good program track. I mean, roughly over 8.5 minutes, and there's some parts where it goes a little bit more techno, a little bit more acid, a little bit. It's kind of got a little bit of everything in there. It's just one of the strongest and probably biggest sounding trance tracks that Rising High put out in those days. One of the most dramatic trance tracks of all time. Probably sounds a little bit more like something off like maybe Platypus Records than maybe a Rising High, but the piano and then the ambient parts definitely ties into Rising High for sure. And such a big track and a big trance strong song for that day, as far as the popularity as well. And it's a track that's kind of grown over the years with popularity, but still fairly underground a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. But yeah, that's the last track on the list for today. So that completes episode number 5 of my top 100 trance tracks of all time. In this video, we counted down from number 60 down to number 51. Hopefully, you'll join me for tomorrow's video, which will be episode 6, where I count down from number 50 down to number 41, as we get closer and closer to revealing the entirety of my top trance tracks of all time and highlighting them. Thanks for being part of it, and hope to see you on the next video. And thanks for supporting Electric Cafe.